Welcome back, everybody, to DissedMedia, a startup story, the podcast where we take you behind the scenes of starting a business from the ground up. And so today we're going to get into something that I think is really vital to every business. I know it has been for DissedMedia, and we've had our struggles. We've We've learned a lot along the way. Just a tremendous amount of bumps, and some rewards as well. But when we talk about marketing, when we talk about putting ourselves out on social media and being heard, cutting through the noise amongst so many things that are out there, creating noise, how do you do that? And, if you've listened to this podcast, you know our story. There's a lot of things we've tried, and some stuff has worked and other things haven't. And a lot of times we get drowned out by the sea of voices. Today, we're going to talk to a gentleman who has a great deal of experience in this space, somebody who is probably going to teach us a thing or two about our own strategy, but also somebody's got a lot to share about their experience in building themselves up and the folks they work with. Pleasure to welcome to the show today, Jeremy Yang. Jeremy, how are you?
Good, buddy. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate having me on here to massive build up. I hope I can live up to the expectations.
I have a feeling that you will. I started talking about DissedMedia and our own kind of journey. So when I started this thing, we did it from nothing. Like, we didn't have a web page, we didn't have any social following, and I purposely didn't even broadcast to a lot of people. I've started this thing because I really wanted to get a sense for what is it like if you're a business owner, you have no voice, you have no big social network. How do you build from nothing? And is it possible? And, by the way, is it possible on a shoestring budget? Because we've been bootstrapping a lot of things that we do. And, almost 3 years later, we're still here. So I guess it's kind of possible. Are we as successful as we want to be? Not quite yet, but we're working on it.
Very fascinating, the story. Like, even how you guys, because I was watching your stuff and I'm like, why would he want to do that? Do you know what I mean? Like, what motivated him to want to do that? And it's like, you are like, you putting the spotlight on yourself at a time when everybody don't want the spotlight on themselves, when there's no followers, when there's no views on your videos, when it's really like the struggle, it's hard to get guests. I think, why do you want to do that? So I love to hear actually like the motivation behind it too. When you get to
I'm happy to share that. I'll give a quick recap from the beginning. So I have been in business in the consumer packaged goods industry for over 30 years. When I started, I didn't have a college degree. I actually didn't get a college degree until I started working. And once I got back into school, because initially I always like to say I passed all my classes on the way to my car. Once I got back into school and got through my undergrad, and then I kind of caught the bug and I went back for my MBA, eventually got my PhD. I kind of started liking school. And after I did my MBA, I decided I wanted to go teach. And so I was working full-time in the consumer goods industry, also doing part-time work as a faculty. And I've been doing both for over 20 years now. And so why start a third business? I'm at this point where I'm seeing a lot of my peers in my age group are doing other things. They're retiring into teaching or speaking, and they've built an ecosphere around their industry or their work peers. And now they want to kind of branch out, and they're challenged by that. In addition, in addition, I was brought an opportunity to start teaching social media marketing. And because I've been in sales and marketing operations through a lot of my consumer goods background, it was a fit academically. But what I found when I was teaching this was, like, I was teaching a lot of theory. I was teaching a lot of text information, but I had no real world stuff to bring into it. And I like to have that. I usually teach from that perspective.
I see. Yeah, now it comes together. Okay, so when you started, because you will be at a lot of the same place, where these kids are or where these adult my
Yeah.
classes are, and they go, I'm going to start a social media. What should I do? And they feel like it's really in an awkward place because I have nobody and I don't even know if I should continue doing this
Right.
work.
And the younger
Yeah.
generation these days, I mean, they want to, influencer has become a job title, right?
Yes.
And it's an easy thing to call yourself. It's a hard thing to achieve. And
Definitely.
what I wanted to try and do is give people a real perspective, and both younger people, but even older people who are trying to transition into something new.
Yeah.
And
I think so.
and just share and document the experience, while all the while putting out good, useful content. Hopefully people can learn and grow. So that's a little bit of what kind of started this. And now I just get to talk to really cool people like yourself and, dig into subjects that we like to get into around this stuff.
Yeah, for sure. No, I would love to talk more about it. So my backstory is, so I left school. I wasn't a last minute thing. I did different stuff to you. I wasn't a last minute person, but school didn't interest me that much. And when I started a business when I was about 21, I bought a franchise and we used to drive around and install TV antennas.
Okay.
So it used to be on top of the roof, install TV antennas, and there was always going to be a cap to that. And my dad was a college professor, like when he was in China. And I never finished school. I think it was always like a bit of one of those things that I wanted to go back to fulfill. So when the business ran its course, I thought, well, maybe I should do something else. I went back to university as a mature age student. So I went from 150,000 a year income to zero. And when I went back so I had a small apartment. I saved up 43,000. I thought, let's see how this thing goes. And then I went back and I just done a business degree because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And then the beginner subjects, there was economics, accounting, marketing, and one other thing. And the one that I really stood out on was marketing, because people around me was just so bad at it. Because they didn't want to talk, they didn't want to speak, they didn't get it. And I found that was going to be my gap. So I finished perfect GPA, top of my class, top of the whole entire year in that year. And I thought, that's it, that's my transition, it's finished, right? But it wasn't, because even though I was marched around all the banking jobs and marketing departments for the big things, I didn't fit the mold of a typical uni graduate who can be molded into things, right? I was mature age. I was already 35 at the time. So I couldn't get any jobs. And eventually I started applying for paid internships, which was already a big hit on the ego. I couldn't even get those. So I ended up having to now it's illegal in Australia, but it was unpaid internship. And normally unpaid internships for about 3 months or 6 months, they wouldn't even accept me. The only one that accepted me was 1 year long full-time unpaid internship. So I was 36, updating WordPress websites every day and transcribing YouTube videos. So yeah, manually transcribing YouTube videos because it didn't want to buy an app. So yeah, that was the story. And eventually I went from unpaid to paid internship. And then eventually I was around marketing companies, some not like in-house marketing departments. And one of my boss, because I was very impatient when it comes to results, one of my boss was saying, Jeremy, if you want results fast, you should go into paid advertising. He called it media buying. I said, what's that? I don't know what that is. And then when he explained that to me, I said, oh, that sounds like my thing. And I met someone who was doing it at the time, who became my mentor, who taught me. And then a year later, she said, look, I'm not going to be doing any agency building. So why don't I set up with some clients for you? And you can pay me a percentage, and then we can go from there.
Media buying is really kind of taps into, I think, the heart of what a lot of this social media marketing is, in that I always say that if you want to excel at marketing, two things that you really need to kind of have in your toolkit of skills. One is psychology, and the other is statistics. Because you got to have that understanding of behavior, and marketing is about trying to disrupt people where they're at, capture their attention, and lure them into a direction. And part of that is knowing who they are, where they hang out, what they like, their kind of demographic and psychographic interests. And then, of course, on the back end of that, like a lot of what I imagine that you end up doing in that space is analyzing the data to see what works and see what grabs and what doesn't. And it is both an art and a science.
You kind of work out what's working and then you feed it back into the front and you reiterate the front end whenever you're testing, whether that be hooks, whether that be the offer, whether that's how you approach, and then you analyze again. Yeah. So I'm supporting what you're saying around that. Yeah.
So when you got into this space, so you got into media buying a little bit later, I think, than maybe a lot of people who come out of school doing this. So what were some of the maybe the initial challenges in trying to get your head around this space and start working in this direction?
Yeah. So I think so. I think I got into it at about 2018, 2017. I would say that back then, I'll make this observation and then I'll try to answer your question. I think that digital advertising, online advertising at the time was still really cheap. 2017, 2018, right? And we still used to get people complain, oh, I'm paying 85 cents a click or whatever. Man, you wish you could be paying 85 cents a click now. Do you know what I mean? So my first advice is if you're getting a good, get it, man. Make that demand and supply until that capitalist curve stops making any money. You maximize whatever you can maximize. Because when that gap is gone, it's gone. Because right now, the same people paying $3 a click. They're still in business. So why weren't you doing that before? You could have taken over the market. Do you know what I'm saying? So back then, I think it was still cowboy days. It's still a bit unexplored. Where these days, everything is like down to our absolute science. And there's probably no more exploiting their main platforms.
It's funny that you say that because I remember, somebody I've been listening to, watching for a long time, very well known in this digital marketing space is Gary Vaynerchuk. And he's the kind of guy who, he's brutally honest. And he tells people all the time, like, it's dirt cheap. He'll even tell you today, like, it is dirt cheap. What are you doing? Why aren't you moving on the opportunity?
Yeah, for sure. But back then, I would say that organic had you talk about starting from organic because your students and your audience might not have a big budget to start. So I think organic was a lot more prominent at the time. I think hashtags and anything could have worked. 5-day challenges. It was an open blue ocean at the time. Nowadays, it's so restricted on organic. I feel like the platform is just completely stamped it out, which makes it very hard.
I can tell you, Jeremy, my own experience is that, organic has been very hard. It's funny, when I first started the publication, the Daily Pitch, I'd read all about, and again, I'm coming to this from a textbook point of view, like no real practical experience. So I'm reading all this stuff about keywords and SEO optimization. And, I got software like Yoast to kind of help out with the page, and, build the optimization. And I figured, great, I'm going to optimize it and then traffic will just appear. That was so far from the truth. I learned a lot about the fact that it's not just having a good keyword and making sure your page is optimized for it. It's the fact that you got to make sure nobody else is competing on that keyword. And then if they are, that they don't have a domain authority higher than your own, and that there aren't enough people with a domain authority higher than your own. You got to build backlinks. Like, all of this is part of getting organic attention. And if you, even if you achieve that, which we did, it still didn't move the needle much on the content we had on the page. We were still lagging. And it wasn't, quite honestly, until I shifted gears and started focusing more on YouTube and podcasting and video podcasting, then we really started to get more traction, So organic is tough. And I would say that we have right now, like what I'm kind of deploying right now is very much a social proof campaign to bring awareness to what we do.
Yeah.
It's working.
But and making content as well, right? With what you're doing here. Become repurposable content, etc. Yes. What we're finding is that
it's not just the long form podcast because not everybody's into that. Attention spans are a bit short. So we have 2-minute clips that we do on all the podcasts so that people are introduced to what we do through that. And then YouTube, of course, also likes medium form content as well. So we're looking to do 5 to 8 minute videos, segments on what we do. But that's just YouTube. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, they all have their own things they like to see.
Preferences, to keep the content in a format that's native to the platform.
Yep. Yeah. Something TikTok recently, some people have been buzzing about the fact they've kind of changed up the algorithm a little bit more. They're looking to get people to use almost like photograph galleries, swipeable photographs as content.
Oh, so a little bit away from the video heavy.
Yeah. And it seems to be there seems to be a lot of uptick on it lately. I haven't really explored that. It doesn't really kind of fit what we do, but there's a little bit more of that on that platform going on, which is something that LinkedIn also got into for a little bit, but then people kind of shift. I mean, that's the crazy thing about this is it shifts so quickly. That I always tell people, you don't dabble in social media. It's something you got to do every day.
Yeah. Even if you don't see results, you still have to do it all the time. Yeah. And that's one of these things. And I think when you mentioned about SEO, the backlinking, I think that imagine you are a local business, right? And you have a big company nearby who started a race a lot before you. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like they were around for 12 years and they got a good guy doing the SEO. And they are diligent and they are staying up to date. That race is already lost before you even started.
Yeah, that's true. And I think about restaurants. If you're doing any of the popular hamburger, pizza, anything that there's a lot of chain locations out there, it's tough.
Yeah, what chance have you got? But so when you are like doing the teachings and all that, what kind of common struggles are you seeing people like? Because people used to ask me all the time, do you run ads for podcasts? Should you run ads for podcasts? Can you do it? Should I be boosting and all that? Do you get a lot of questions like that as well? In your
it's interesting. I'll share with you one of the little challenges that I have when it comes to teaching. A lot of the teaching that I do tends to be online. And I try to draw people into the conversation. And in fact, I'll tie this into something that we were doing. So one of the things I thought when we started DissedMedia was that we would create a learning platform for people to access these business concepts and teachings that we had that we were putting content out about. And what I found was that people don't generally like that. They don't want to be in a classroom. They don't want a structured learning environment. They want to learn, but they don't want to go through this step-by-step kind of approach. And so what I try to do is get people to engage in the conversation, but a lot of times in a big class, like there's this, I'm not sure if it's generational or not, but there's a lot of people who are just shy about chiming in and asking questions, and it's such a struggle. So I wish I could say there were like all these students always asking these questions. Unfortunately, they don't, but what I will share about the podcast is, yes, I do advertise through YouTube on the podcast. My strategy has been to boost the long form podcast videos and let the shorts run organically. And cool. I've been running a kind of I'm trying to get subs, right? So the goal is 100,000 subs by the end of 2026. Yeah. And we've been doing pretty well at that. We just crossed 14,000 as a recording of this podcast. And I will tell you this, Jeremy, I am doing it for less than 2 cents a sub.
Wow, amazing. So good. Yeah, really. But we're talking about American? USA or the Big Five?
The Big Five, yeah. So as you know, American audiences are expensive. I always include America. I always include really America, Canada, UK, Australia, but they're tough. So I have to also pepper in the global YouTube audience.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. We have to
yeah,
do it.
but what's interesting is that the pull through that I'm getting, I get more of a global audience on the big show. I get more of a US audience on the shorts. And then the shorts are also leading to subs, and they're also leading to more traffic on the podcast overall. So, it's a strategy that tends to be working pretty well.
No, really good. No, well done, man. No, it's really good. Cool.
But so let me ask you this, because you've been in this realm of Facebook, Instagram, things like that, and as you've mentioned, organic. I will say this: one of the advice I got early on was grow it organically first, because if you start paying, as soon as you stop paying, all the audience is going to go away.
We're talking about what's the offer though. So are we talking about just awareness, or we're talking about direct response?
Well, really from awareness. So when I first started Daily Pitch, and that we were just putting out content, the idea was to try and get regular people coming back to the website. It just didn't grab the way that we wanted it to.
Yeah.
And what we're finding is that community is better built through video and audio. People just you have Substack, which team is doing a pretty good job of that, but it seems that most people who are successful with things like Substack tend to be successful if they've also got audio and video complementing their Substack.
Yeah, they got something else. Yeah, I think that I would say that because a lot of the stuff that I do is in direct response. There is a myth that, like in Google Ads, right? Like they say, don't ever stop your Google Ads once you start, because once you stop it, Google knows and it'll de-rank your organic as well. Then come back or something. I haven't seen firm evidence of that, and of course Google's not going to say that, but I would say that back then it was a lot easier to turn things on and off, because machine learning wasn't there, the momentum wasn't there. It doesn't matter. It was all like just a manual process. Nowadays you got to be very wary when you're turning off for Christmas, turning off for long weekends, things like that. I would say that, but I still think that you do have to have some organic going on, because ads are so expensive. So you do have to have some offer that's like converting. Like you do have to, for your thing or for your students or your client stuff. I think that using ads to test yourself is very taxing. Do you listen to Hormozy much?
No.
Oh, okay, cool. He talks about testing different offers. So what ads can help you do is condense the time period, because you can have 50 ads at the same time where you can't have 50 organics at the same time. So it takes forever. And sometimes you do organic, it burns out in 24 hours, 48 hours, but that was a good piece of content, but that's gone forever.
Got it. No, that makes a lot of sense.
As in, that's formulated back forever. Yeah. Yeah. Where ads, they don't disappear. They keep spinning.
And that's something too. I know this is going to sound a little silly. That's something else I've shared about what we've built. So the first couple of years that I was working on DissedMedia, I was really working on optimizing the website, making it responsive, focusing on the content, and not really thinking about a product. I know that sounds a little weird, but it was really about just building an audience first before we even thought about doing anything like that. And I was at went to a weekend seminar, and I was talking with somebody, and they asked me, stopped me dead in my tracks. And they said, so what are you trying to sell people? And I was like, yeah, you know what? I hadn't really thought of a product yet.
Did you gather email list at least when you were doing all of that?
Well, yes, I did get people to sign up for newsletter. So, have that.
That's something.
But really, was it? Yeah. So here's the thing. I kind of launched into this thinking about building this media site without ever really thinking, like I only thought about audience, but didn't think about gathering any of their information as they came by. You really want to, as I've later found out, if you really want to deeply connect with the audience, you got to identify who they are so you can reach out to them again, number one. And then number two, give them something compelling that is useful to them. Give them something of value. And so now we're doing that a little bit more than we used to. As a matter of fact, I just came out with a book recently. And one of the things I do is I give away the first chapter of the book for free if you sign up for it on my website. So that way I collect their information and hopefully it leads to a sale. But
that's such a good lead magnet. That is perfect for your Facebook, Instagram advertising and all of that stuff. Yeah. So I'm curious and I wanted to know. So when you're doing like the media stuff and you're starting getting followers, was the vision maybe some part of you was maybe you can sell ads on those or sell sponsorships? They're very lucrative too, right? If you had the right audience, age group,
yes. Well, and I will say this, one of the things that we have focused on almost from the start is building, I'm going to call it the high value, high dollar audience, in that I want LinkedIn, I want professionals, I want people who are mid to senior level managers. For every sensible reason why you would want people with high earners and high discretionary income. When you have that as part of your audience, you tend to be able to attract better sponsors. So yeah, that's kind of been our strategy, is building that kind of audience. And that is going to continue to be our primary focus. Have we gotten to sponsorship yet?
Yeah.
Nothing more than affiliate sponsorship, nothing direct.
When you had guests like Kevin Rice, I think it was, that's massive. I listened to the episode. I'm like, oh man, I don't even know if I should come on this thing because look how big that guy is. Like he's good looking, he's articulate, he's got a much better story. I had 10 employees. This guy had 250 employees, and it was a fascinating story. And I think it was such a great interview too. What you guys spoke about?
Jeremy, I appreciate that. Thank you. One of the things I try to do with this podcast is, first of all, whether I was talking to, a high level executive like Tim Cook or anybody really, I tend to approach everybody the same way. So, my goal for this podcast has always been to have very casual, kind of real conversations. And in fact, I have to compliment you for the fact that you're not. Sometimes we do this and it turns into just a big pitch. So I love the fact that we're just having a conversation about it all.
Yeah, no, there's no pitch. No, I'd love to. When I was looking at it, I said, well, what can I bring this guy's audience? People usually have a lot of questions around ads, usually starting ads, and I thought maybe they have questions and I could help you answer them.
So yeah, when you talk about ads and questions that people may have when you run them, what are some of the common questions that clients pitch you when it comes to running ads? Maybe from those people who've maybe never done it before.
If people have never done it before, they usually think there's a lot to do with the button clicking side of things, right? What campaign should I use? What structure should I put it in? All that. And that's not really what they should be focused on. They should be focused on creating a unique offer that's going to get cut through. If they manage to do that, everything will somehow take care of itself. Another thing that people the misconception is the fact that the targeting of the audience. They think platforms can really hone in on the CEO or on the C-suite level or that kind of thing, or they want pregnant mothers who are looking for stuff for their babies. They can't do that anymore. That privacy stuff has gone a long time ago. Audiences are very broad now. So for you to target your audience, I'm just talking to if they're just starting ads who've never done ads before, you want to be calling out your audience right at the beginning of your ad. That's your best chance. That's your best bet to do it. So that's the two things I think people should continue working on their offer. Don't worry about all this button clicking rubbish because that doesn't move the needle. And second thing is try not to focus too much on what the platforms can do in terms of targeting and more on you have to know the breakneck kind of problem of your audience, like the really desperate, deep down problem of your audience, and be able to call it out right from the beginning.
A lot of times, people tend to focus on the ICP, the ideal customer profile, as they call it.
Yeah.
How much focus do you put into that? Like if you're, because the popular things that people talk about is, focusing on building a customer persona. Thinking about, as you mentioned, the offer, But if if you had these things kind of all laid out on the table, you're trying to assign a percentage weight to some of this stuff. Where do you focus your attention, and in your opinion, think it is worth the better value is invested in paying attention to this?
I think ICP is good, but ICP is quite theoretical in my eyes. I think that you got to have, it's a contact sport. I think you got to be on the ground. Really, like you might have ICP in mind, but until you start giving them stuff to use and people vote with their wallets, you really don't know what their pain points are. Not to the level you really want to know it to. Do you know what I mean? You want to be like, because the wait lists and all that, like you got to join the wait list and you have this wait list and you go, I'm going to sell this much if 20% buy. It's not true. It's all about how they vote with their wallets and when they use it, what their real response is. And you can't have that until you start having some real customers. So in terms of ICP, I think it's very theoretical. I think you should have a bunch of stuff in the pipeline to test on, to get validated. I think validate quick will be a very good piece of advice. Yeah, because you just don't know. It's all theory until they do this.
So when you talk about having a lot of things in the pipeline, I tend to think more of companies with multiple product offerings, right?
Yes.
So is it about testing, testing different products to see what has the most uptake?
Testing a different product, testing different offers on a product, testing different hooks to get people into watching the entire ad or to get the click-through rate. So you'd be like a pipeline. So you never run out of ammo. So you always have a bunch of stuff that's coming up. And the way I will look at it, just say you're an accounting firm. Yeah. You want to say, I'm an accountant for digital marketing agencies because I understand your problem and list out the problems. I'm an accounting agency for people with 10-man teams and list out the problem. But it's the same accounting agency. But the way you are niching down or the way you're marketing yourself, how you're niching down makes a big difference because the person who's hearing it, they go, oh, that person's for me. That accounting firm is for me, but really you're the same accounting firm. You just have a bunch of niches, but for that particular ad, you're talking to one ICP.
So what about people who are, or speakers, who are authors, who you only have 3 books, let's say. And that you have 3 books, but you have a publisher. Your publisher is the one with the relationships with all the distributors that are getting your books in, how do you build a voice around, how do you make offers when you don't necessarily control price or can even necessarily control the offer, but you're still trying to sell books. You're still trying to put your persona out there. You're trying to book speaking gigs and all that other kind of stuff.
Oh, easy. Social proof. So proof will be the huge one. So to me, you're selling something. And I think that in that particular medium, I think that they're building their peripherals around the book, right? So eventually someone will Google and buy the book or Amazon and buy the book, but they have to see from somewhere else, if that makes sense. So
that does.
And I think that one of the things you can't fake is proof. So if you're talking about you're on a speaking gig, which not a lot of us are on, right? And you get a marketing team on videos and all of that for the gigs and everything, and you turn that into an ad, very, very powerful. Very powerful stuff. And the one-to-one, so what you really want to do, if it's direct response and measurable, you want to be collecting email addresses. Just like what you're doing.
It's interesting because thinking about coaches, I was actually listening to a friend of mine I worked with for a few years. She is now a author, podcaster, speaker, coach kind of person. And something she revealed recently on her podcast was that, she had gone with a company that was going to be doing a series of videos and marketing videos and spent a substantial amount of money putting these things together, and then ultimately abandoned it because she didn't really feel it like it was capturing her branding very well.
Interesting.
And to me, part of the reason that I do this, part of the reason that I try to share stories and content and information is because, boy, those charlatans on the internet, they they really irritate me. The people who are out there selling people on a dream, like, oh, we're gonna basically we're gonna make you famous. We're gonna get you a lot of attention, and just do these steps and give us a lot of money. That's part of the reason why I do this, is because I want people to know that it's number one, it doesn't happen overnight, but if you work at it, if you learn how the different platforms perform, to your point, what the offers, what the uptick on the offers are, it's interesting, because you run into people who they're afraid to do something because of the perception that it will create, or they don't want to get it wrong, or they don't want to look foolish online. And I've thrown all that out the window personally myself.
The clown factor. I do think that's a really good point, because I think people have to become a little bit more animated when they do their ads, right? Now, wherever they are, I look at the veterans, I look at the clients who's been doing this for a long time. They turn it up a notch when they need to do the ads. Like they become like a little bit more like hypo kind of thing. So it is. So what you're saying is absolutely true, because those people don't want to look like that. If all this fails, then that footage is there forever, right? So
but I for one tend to think that fail in public. Like, who cares? Honestly, Jeremy, who gives a crap? So, I think that at some point you have to learn. Nobody comes out of this just perfect and does it spot on first time out. You're going to stumble. You're going to make mistakes. And as a matter of fact, recently I did a promo video for my book, and I hated it. Like, I did 10 videos. I haven't edited. I only edited the first chapter one, but I did 10 segments. And the idea was I was going to do a video on each chapter, and it was going to be very brief, something that'll fit in a YouTube short. And I did the first one, and it's not me. Like, I wanted to make sure I got the words right, so I scripted it out, and I'm reading it. It's just not authentic. It's not that I'm trying to fake it, but it just doesn't say. It sounds like I'm making a presentation, and I don't know. Just I need to do them a little bit more freeform like this, and then cut it together that way. But I tried to get all fancy and professional, and it just came off. It sounds okay, but it just doesn't feel authentic.
I have a comment to make, and I have a question as well. So, when talking about charlatans on the internet, and there used to be, I think things have got a lot better now. I think it used to be a lot worse. But when I first went into the digital market in 2019, we were working for a client. The client had, one of those banners on the bottom that says someone just purchased in, Charlotte, someone just purchased in Atlanta, and I'm in the back of the GF4, and there's no one in the audience. I'm like, that's it. That's the industry I'm in. You know what I mean? Like, I just kind of like shrug and say, all right, that's what I have to sleep with. That's the game, though. So which is
all about trying to capitalize on emotion, right?
So there is charlatans, people with the charlatan, the whole perception of the industry. And now that another thing I wanted to ask you, when you're talking about branding of the coach and how she wasn't going to use a lot of the stuff that she used, was it a strategy thing? Because I'm not big on strategy, because I think that's theoretical, but that could also be something that you are teaching as well. I don't know.
Outside of the clip that she had posted, because it's a video that I watched on LinkedIn from it, I haven't spoken to her. And in fact, it is one of the things I intend to do, is reach out to her and ask her a little bit more about it. I want to actually have her on the podcast as well. Because I think there's a lesson in that for others. The reason I bring it up is because, and she mentioned it on the podcast. I don't feel like I'm giving any secrets away here, but she mentioned she invested like $20,000 in this campaign. And then she abandoned it because she didn't feel like it captured her branding very well. And meanwhile, that's a significant amount of money for a lot of people. I mean, maybe not for a Facebook, right? But for a small business, that's a lot of money to part with.
Lifeblood of their money. So was it like So in your like teachings and all your courses, do you teach much about strategy and branding? Because I think that's really top high level stuff, right? That's not where the rubber meets the road. So I don't get to see that much. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that, yeah, when we're talking about social media marketing in a textbook form, and again, we talk about developing an ICP, we talk about
Mm,
understanding the platforms and which platforms attract which kinds of audiences
yeah.
and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
One of the things I try to do when I teach the classes, I have students put together, we pretty much focus on Instagram because that tends to
Yeah.
resonate with audience that we're working with. But I have them like create an account, put some ads together, put some things out there. And that's fine for the practice of doing it.
Yeah.
However, it's almost like you're operating in a lab.
Yeah.
It's
How
different
explain
when, yeah,
it
it's
is.
different when you
Yeah.
put your own money against it. It's
Yes.
different when you have a client saying, "What the hell? We spent all this money. There's no
Right.
views. There's no clicks. There's no pull through.
Yeah.
What are you guys doing?"
Yeah. Yeah.
You have, and again, going back to what I said earlier, you have to practice this.
Yeah.
You don't dabble in social media. You either do it or you don't do it, or you just look at everybody else's stuff. But if you want to put your own things out there, good or bad, you need to put them out there and
Yeah.
look at the data and critique it later. It's crazy. Like Jeremy, I've had things that I thought, that's silly. And I get great uptake on it. And other things that I'm like, oh man, the value of the information in this thing, and
Yeah.
nobody cares.
Yeah. 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 It's crazy. So I think all of that is true. I think when you're doing the ICP and all that, I think that's what really gets people going, gets the people moving, like the actions but then when the money starts coming out, kind of everything changes. They got to revise that again and again. I think that's the part that when you're coming out of the lab, yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah,
thinking.
by the way, here's the other thing too. I probably should have mentioned this as well. You know, I wanted to get better at this. So DissedMedia, this thing that I run,
Yeah.
it's really my third job. So,
Yes.
I have a regular, 9 to 5 job that I do. What's fun about and interesting about that job is for a small company, and I purposely don't talk a lot about that work, primarily
Yeah.
because I kind of keep those two worlds separate.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I want to bring things in that I've learned into that space and, to ultimately help the company, like, improve
Yeah.
what they do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So part of doing this was like, I couldn't go to my boss and be like, hey, put me in charge of social media. Let me just try
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because at the
Yeah.
end of the day, it's a company that's been around for 30 years. They're very good at what they do. They're kind of top at what they do in the area that they specialize in. And I wasn't going to mess with the brand. Like
Yes. Yeah.
it makes no sense for me to do that. And so I needed a sandbox of my own that I could go
Yeah.
do things with to see what
Yeah.
works and what doesn't work.
All makes sense now. So everything makes sense now. So now that my entire story, I can see the full picture now. Yeah.
But and quite honestly, here's the other thing too. Like I'm putting my own money at risk. Like I've
Yeah.
invested something else. Like listeners know, if you've paid attention to the podcast, I started this venture with $5,000 of my own money,
Yeah.
and there's a couple attacks to this. So sometimes people hear that and they think, "Wow, you spent a lot of money on something with no results." Here's the thing: I could have went and gone back to taking some classes, and I would have spent $2,500, $3,000 on a certificate in social media marketing. And what would I have at the end of it? A certificate in social media marketing. Wouldn't have any real experience yet. I would just have more knowledge of concepts. I needed. Now at least I have a company with a brand and a presence, and
Yes.
at the end of the day, at some point I could sell this thing and at least recoup some money back.
And you broaden your reach as well.
What's interesting about that is, I work for an importer that imports other brands, right?
Yep.
So at the end of the day, you know, we are, as a company, we have a brand, but really all of the other people that we work with, they are kind of the owners and marketers of their brands, right? We're
Right.
kind of the importer, and
Yep.
we do that work really well.
Yep.
Which makes it even a little bit more challenging because once again, like you're messing, I don't want to say messing with, but you're the representation for other people's brands. And
Yep.
as an importer, are you the salespeople or the marketing people? Really,
Yep.
you're trying to sell the brand, not necessarily market the brand. You leave it up to the brand owner to market the brand,
Yeah, correct.
and
Yeah,
the
that's
importer to
different.
sell the brand.
Yeah, that's different again. Yeah.
Yeah, so it, you know, it's got all of these all of these little nuances to it. But like I said, I mean, I wanted to get better at it, and so I figured the only way I could get better at it is by, you know, owning my own thing and you know, making sure that I try and learn this stuff from the ground up.
Oh, 100%. Look forward to seeing more of it, you know? Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this, because gosh, we talked a lot about, you know, about my stuff. I want to dive a little bit more into what you do. One of the things that you said, which you know, I don't like you thinking like this. You said, "What do I have to share?" Right? Kevin Rice had all of these employees.
Yeah.
You know, who am I? You're somebody who's doing this every day, and you're making a living at it, and you own a business around it, and you're helping other people be successful at it. You know, scale is not what it's about. It's the practice of doing it is what it's about. So, I think you have a tremendous amount of wisdom to offer in this space. When you think about how you've built your own business, what are a few of the prouder moments of things that you've accomplished with some of the clients that you've worked with?
So we ended up, we currently I'm currently the most recommended specialist in Australia for the space. So Facebook ads and Google ads. So that was quite achievable. That was a big achievement. When I first started and I saw the traditional agencies, the traditional agencies that you have the salesperson, then you have the account manager in the middle, then you have your, you know, outsourced workforce doing the actual button clicking of the ads. I found that model to be not optimal because the account manager in the middle takes too much of the its overhead, right? So what I started was I went directly hired from the Philippines from the first year, and now I've built up a team of 10 full-timers. And I just actually, for the very first time, I went there last week. I've never been there. The company's been around for 7 years. A lot of them been with me for 5 years. So I met him for the very first time. We talk on Zoom every day, of course, but I met him in person for the first time. We went to the villa together. We shot some photography, done some marketing material, which we'll use as future promotion. But that's a very proud moment. I really wanted the team to come with me on this journey. So that was huge for me. Yeah.
And it's funny because I'm reflecting back on what you said. So there's two things that are opposing each other here. You said, I'm small. What could they learn from me? Oh, and I happen to be the number one recommended Facebook and Google. Like, that's a huge accomplishment. You can't say you've got nothing to share and then be like the top recommended guy in this space.
Yeah, I tell you that everybody shares a lot about advertising. I can share a lot about working with maybe another day, but we can talk a lot about working with remote workforce and things like that. That's huge because that's like when I came out, I couldn't get my prices high because I had no credibility. So I had to figure out how to keep the costs low, right? But still have like a top quality product, like top quality product and service. So I did a lot of that. And the moment that changed everything that made me want to do it was, I think it was my third employee. I think she came up to me and she said, "Oh, I just got an air conditioner." And I thought there was another half to that story. I said, "Yeah, so what?" She said, "I never had an air conditioner before." So they're living out like a very humid, hot environment. I said, "This is what I want to do. This is the type of team and camaraderie I want to build." So that's where
awesome.
Yeah. And then
you're changing people's lives.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? You got nothing to share.
And people putting their siblings through like degrees and all that, which is very difficult to do over there. So this is a big moment for me. Yeah, this is a huge moment for me.
You know, I have to say, I mean, I hope to get to a point to scale, to bring other people under the tent, you know, with me.
Yeah, the umbrella.
You know, it's funny because I spoke a little while ago with Brian Sampson. He owns Plug Technologies. They are a nearshoring company and do a lot of nearshoring down in South America and Argentina.
Yeah.
And you know, he helps U.S. companies, really companies from other places as well, but really helps primarily U.S. companies plug into the workforce down in South America. And shared a lot of really great stuff in it. And I think when you are, you know, we're a global, especially in technology, you know, we just have a global landscape anymore. And it is, by the way, something I share with my students all the time, especially here in the U.S. Like, you know, you guys, you're competing against everybody else in the world,
Right.
and they may be hungrier than you and more competitive than you. That is your reality. And now add to that AI.
Yes.
Agentic AI that is really starting to reshape the work landscape. People have it cut out. Like, I would imagine, Jeremy, that there's analysis and insight you can pull out of some agentic AI today that when you first started, you struggled getting the kind of data and insights that Claude or ChatGPT can burn out for you now.
Yeah, wouldn't have dreamed of it. And I was saying this on another podcast, that because of the hunger and now that AI is available, I think that we are having to offer more. Like, we as an agency or service providers having to offer more, where it was a joke before. Like, we never even touched those things before. But now, because we know that the competitor can come up and do all of those things with the power of AI, we've had to preemptively do that for clients.
What's crazy, and especially I think if you're working in this digital space, I would say most susceptible are those companies that lean heavy into technology. Agentic AI models are I'm watching people spin up 300-400 bots that are working 24/7 at solving problems and doing things for people. You're now able to augment your staff with automation, with AI automation. When you talk about that, small competitor may only have 5, 6, 8 employees, but are 800 employees strong because of the automations that are being run in the background. It's completely changing how people compete. And one of the things I will probably add to that is one of the reasons I do this and I put myself out there, I put my personality out there, put who I am out there, is because I think that's what is going to help win in the future. Is people want authenticity. They want people who they can connect with and see, and it's going to become more and more easy to hide behind this veil of digital curtain. That I think we need to have more people out there. And by the way, that's why I also kind of put my mistakes and accomplishments out there for the public to see, because it's like, look, I'm not going to tell you I'm perfect. I'm not even going to pretend like I know it all. But if I can help you and you get better because you've seen the things that I've done, awesome. Like, mission accomplished.
Yeah, no, I'd love to chat to you because, I'm going to create a podcast maybe in the next few months. I'd love to chat to you about if the teachings and how do you navigate the overseas workforce and AI at the same time? Like, we have to be able to, your US students must have something to look forward to, or some type of playbook. It has to be optimistic, right, in this whole thing. Like, there are a lot of things they can do that AI and overseas workforce can't do, because I use both. But we have to double down on that, I feel like. I'd love to get your take on that as well.
Jeremy, I'll tell you this, and I would love, would love to come on when you start the show. But I will share this with you now. One of the biggest struggles I have with students today is they are leaning so hard into AI. I don't know what their voice is anymore. And one of the things I've told students is, because I've been doing this for 20 years, I have 18 years of experience of knowing what student writing looks like. I know typically what they would present, but over the last 2 years, because everybody's leaned more into AI, everybody sounds the same. Like one of the things, because I teach online, I have a discussion question that I'll post. And I would used to say, and sometimes it was a struggle, but I would used to say, give me at least 250 words in response to this discussion question, and then have dialogue with your other students. Well, now everybody just takes the question, puts it into whatever AI tool, and gives me the same answer. And so what I do is in class, I pull them all up, and I'm like, okay, here's this response. Oh, look, here's another. Sounds just like the other one. Here's the third one. Sounds just like the other two.
Yeah.
And the problem is that AI is giving everybody the same voice. It's giving everybody the same resume. It's giving everybody the same cover letter on a job application. This is not where your value is. Your value is in showing people what you know, showing people your voice. And you can't do that. What good are you to a company? Like, what good are you to a company if you can't demonstrate that you're bringing something to the table?
Sure. Yeah, correct. While me and you, we both know that because we're veterans in the game, but like the kids, they require a playbook, right? It's not enough to tell them like, dude, you need to really stand out, because whatever you're doing now, everybody's doing that and you're just being lazy kind of thing. But they need guidance and a playbook. They say, look, these things are not going to be replaced, and I'll help you get there. Do you know what I'm saying? That's the kind of thing I feel like it's so crucial right now.
Yeah, it is crucial, and it's imperative. By the way, here's the other challenge, Jeremy. So I use AI all the time. As a matter of fact, I just used it to recode my website. And one of the things I'm kind of proud of this is I've been using. So you and I connected with each other through Podmatch, which is a great tool if you're into podcasting or want to be a guest. But one of the things I was having a problem with is I have people reaching out to me outside of Podmatch who want to be on the show. Inside of Podmatch who want to be on the show. I got all these messages within the Podmatch platform, and I'm trying to organize all this stuff. And I'm like, this is insane. So I spun up a website that if you reach out to me through Podmatch, I will. Now, you didn't go through this process. This is entirely new. I just launched it this last weekend. But you fill out an intake form on my website. Then you pick a date on my calendar. Immediately that date gets booked. It locks into my website. You get scheduled on the release. So you can see like when you tape versus, when you get released. And then, there's some options to, if you want to buy a spot to get published earlier, you could do that. I'm starting to put some funds around marketing these episodes a little bit more. But at the end of the day, like this platform, you get a booking number. You can look up your reservation. You can cancel your reservation. It'll update my calendar. It just organizes everything, keeps it all in sync. But here's the thing. Like, I used AI to help me code a lot of that stuff to get me through a lot of it. This is how you use it. You use it to augment what you want to do, but you don't use it as a replacement.
You had an idea, like you knew what you wanted and you used it to get there. But you don't use it to do the whole thing from beginning to end. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. So, I fully hear you. And it's the voices will be like, that's easy for you to say now you got the money to do the business and all that idea. What if it was just a kid coming out? Like, how would they, you know what I mean? Like, how would they stand out? I don't have the answer, but yeah, that's what I would love to. Because you've been doing it for a long time, you probably have a lot of ideas on how do we put exercise in front of them that kind of engages them, that kind of leads them towards that direction, Yeah.
I try. At the end of the day, though, I can't be your motivation. I can't be your inspiration to want to do better. Like, that has to come from you. I will give you all the tools to succeed, and I will help you if you reach out to me. And if you're really struggling, let's work together and figure it out. But at the end of the day, you got to bring it. And some people just aren't there yet.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I hear you.
Jeremy, man, we've gotten into a really good conversation here, and I feel like we've gone a little bit longer, but all really good stuff. I feel like we need to have a part 2 to this, because I feel like there's a lot of things we need to even get to. I do want to, though, give you this opportunity, and that is to tell everybody, like, where do they find you? How do they connect with you? I wanted to get deeper into the work that you do with Google and Facebook and some of that stuff. But if you're looking for an expert, top ranked person here in Australia, how do we get a hold of you?
The best way is just connect with me on LinkedIn. So it's Jeremy Yang. I'm easy to find. You can email me at hello@digitalgoliath.com.au. I read all my emails and I reply to them. And so if anyone else out there has a podcast talking about marketing, talking to small business, advertising related stuff, I would love to have a chat as well. Thank you so much for the opportunity, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I mean, I have to say, I'm gonna kind of throw a promotional bone out there to the Podmatch people. I have to say that the people that I get through Podmatch, I have some of the best conversations, and they've been so good. So I appreciate you. You're maintaining that level of engagement there.
Yeah, it's really helpful as well to hear some of your thoughts on the topics too today.
Well, awesome. I'm glad. I love that we can collaborate.
Yeah.
Folks, for those of you checking out DissedMedia Startup Store, I want to thank you guys for your time and your attention and hanging into the conversation to this point. I do want to also mention that we are on a mission this year of hitting 100,000 subs by the end of 2026, and you are helping with that. So tell your friends, and as I always say, better yet, tell your enemies, because they're more likely to do something with your words than anyone else. So. Tell your enemies about us. And if you are looking for a good book to read, check out my book, 10 Topics to Help Managers, Leaders, and Entrepreneurs Get Better at What You Do. Would love it if you check it out. Go to my website, benolmos, BENOLMOS.com. Download the first chapter for free. Check it out. And by doing that, at some point, I'm going to be releasing some more seats to the Daily Pitch community, and you guys will maybe have an opportunity to grab one of those. Check out the chapter, check out the book, check out Jeremy Yang, by the way, as well, because he's awesome. And thank you all for checking us out. We'll catch you next time. Have a good one. Thanks for listening to DissedMedia, A Startup Story. This podcast was produced and edited by Ben Olmos and is a production of DissedMedia Corporation. If you're interested in learning more about anything you heard on this episode, please reach out to us at podcast@dissedmedia.com. You can also get more information about this and other episodes, or information about our guests, by checking out dailypitch.news, our business and insights publication focused on helping managers, leaders, and entrepreneurs get better at what they do.